Hi there, my name is Aaron Short. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today is Monday and it is May the 29th. It's Memorial Day, a day to remember those that gave their lives. I'm not going to say, I was just reading about the correct way to talk about Memorial Day. I'm not going to say, I'm going to say, hope you have a thoughtful day and remembering those that gave for us. And we're going to talk about music today. Before we get started, I'll just let you know, in case if you've got a big screen, I'm not going full screen today. I had some work done at the dermatologist, so I'm going to keep myself inconspicuous today. I do like that word. And my eyes are streaming as well from this allergies. I never had allergies my whole life, and then this year has knocked the heck out of me. So I just took a pill. Hopefully that'll fix me. And luckily not too into the voice at the moment, but my eyes have been running. So anyway, let's do some Q&A today. Let's talk about the new Bose S1 Pro Plus that I guess I leaked. I didn't leak it. Someone else leaked it. I put it on my video. I wanted to make a story about it. I'm really excited for this new Bose speaker that's coming out, if you can't tell. I'd like to talk about that maybe today. Some experience I had at the weekend with my gig and wires and things that could be a problem for gigs as well, which will link into that. And then we'll just do a casual hangout, say hi to our friends, ask any questions, talk about any gear you want to talk about, anything you've bought this week or you're looking to purchase. Let me know in the chat. So let's start by saying hello to who's here. T says it's a beautiful few days here in Ireland. Very good, very good. It's very hot here too. We are officially entering summer, right? He says, hey Aaron, hello all, what's on the menu tonight? The menu tonight is open Q&A. I guess the topic for today will be wireless systems. Do we need them? Are they worth having? I've been pretty down on wireless systems lately. Been saying how they can't be relied upon. But I do want to talk about it today in relation to the new product that's coming out from Bose. Bedowen says, guess I'm the first one here. Very good. Thanks for being the first one here, my friend. You were here before me. John says, hi, Aaron. I hope everyone's having a good day. Very good. And Patsy Smith, hello, everyone. Patsy here from Suffolk, UK. Awesome. So let me tell you about this. In case you missed the video, there's a new Bose S1 Pro coming out. So the Bose I'll give you a little introduction to these units. I'll tell you about the new unit briefly. I won't do as much detail as I did in my video, but let me tell you what this is. Let me tell you why I'm excited for it. And let's have a discussion about PA systems today, because PA systems really are so important to what we do as musicians. Without a PA system, you can't be heard. Many people don't own a PA system. With systems like this now, many people do have a PA system of their own. And I do encourage everyone to get a PA system of their own. You know, people often say to me on here, what acoustic amp should I purchase? And I often say, maybe don't buy an acoustic amp these days. Maybe buy your PA first. So buy your PA system and then get an acoustic amp if you need it. I think a PA system is the most important thing to have, especially if you are a singer as well, because the PA systems are very good for vocals and other instruments, whereas acoustic amps tend to be targeted more towards the solo guitarist, right? So, this was the Bose S1 Pro. I remember when this came out, I was at the NAMM show, and Bose were on the floor the first day the NAMM show preview opened. They had this thing, and I was so excited. This was a while ago. This was a few years ago now, or 5 years ago. I was so excited for it because I'm always looking for something lightweight to travel with. You know, if you have a car, if you play loud gigs, maybe you don't need something like this at all. But if you have back problems or have transport issues, these things are invaluable. And it never hurts to have something like this as well as a kind of satellite speaker or monitor, or even just a spare in the back of your car. So I was so excited. It was so loud and I heard it. It sounded really good. And I got one immediately. And that's probably one of my most watched videos on the channel, this Bose S1 Pro. So if you want, you can go back and watch those videos tonight and you'll see how different I sound even when I talk and see what I said about it at the time. Then we had the JBL Eon Compact. took it a step further with a more advanced, well, with an app and a pretty advanced app control. But there was still a lot of hoo-ha at the time about, well, which one's better? And some were saying that the Bose was still their favorite because it was so simple and it didn't really have app control. You could stream music to it, but people liked the fact it had the physical knobs. And the JBL was a bit more convoluted. And people were saying out the box the JBL didn't sound as good. Jim, thank you so much. Really appreciate that. If you give me a super chat, I will stop what I'm doing and give you one of these. And I will answer your question straight away. So Jim says, any updates on your PRX1? All good. I'm taking mine to my next show. Fingers crossed. I just updated the app. We can go into that. Let me just finish what my spiel here about these systems, Jim. If you're going to hang around, if you don't mind, can you remind me of that question when I've finished this little intro to the systems? I do have a lot of thoughts on the PRX1 that will bleed from this. But let me just start with the smaller systems, if you don't mind. I do appreciate the super chat. It really helps me out a lot. So I will definitely come back to you, and I'm sure people remind me if I forget. So there we go. Thank you, Jim. I'll come back to that, right? Let me just go back to what I was saying, that this really leads into those systems. So the JBL came next, the mini JBL, the compact, and there was a big thing about that. And then out of nowhere, we had the Everse 8 a while later. The Everse 8, for full clarification, I know I haven't made as many videos as I'm supposed to. I know I haven't made many videos about the Everse 8 at all. That is the speaker. And that's actually why I encourage people to come on the live stream, because this is where this is the bare naked bones come out of the gear stuff I talk about. Not that I don't talk about everything in the other videos, but this is where I just talk off the cuff, completely live, and you can ask those direct questions about the specifics. So the Everse 8 is the speaker. And I've said this many times already, but the Everse 8 is the speaker I've been using exclusively lately. I don't use the S1 Pro at all. In fact, I should probably sell that because I'm going to get the new S1 Pro. So I should probably sell that ASAP before the new one is released. I don't use the JBL, and I'll talk about that when I talk about Jim's question. So we'll get to that soon. But I've been using the Everse 8. It's a great speaker. Again, it doesn't do every scenario. It's not loud enough to fill a room by itself, but for those birthday parties, those off-the-cuff gigs, the monitor. So yesterday I used it as a mixer, actually, which was awesome. So what I did was I plugged my Voice Live 3, which had the mic and guitar combined, into the Everse 8 input 1. I then plugged a guest mic into input 2. I streamed the music from my phone to input 3, and I then plugged the output of that into regular PA speakers. So it was actually working as a Bluetooth streaming device and a 3-input digital mixer. So that's where the value comes from. And that, again, that will come into the new Bose system we'll talk about in a second. But that Everse 8, until the new Bose was announced, and to this point, is the one I'm using. I think the app is reliable and solid. I think the features are great. I think it sounds very good. It's one of the lightest systems. It has the bigger speaker inside it. It's a great system. The Everse 8 at the moment, and this does change all the time, as you know, but the Everse 8 for me at the moment is my favorite portable battery-powered PA speaker, for sure. And it's gone as far as I wouldn't mind trying the larger EV systems. I'd love to try the Evolve 30M and the 50M. And the reason is that those are using the same app, so you haven't got to learn a new app. And with the 50M, you can connect them together with one cable, and it will sync them together with audio, and it'll also sync the mixer. And no other PA system can do this at the moment. So that means it will combine the channels from both into one mixer. So the EV50s, 2 of those and 2 of the Everse 8s would be an incredible PA system and versatile PA system. You could use one Everse 8, you could use one 50M, you could use a 50M and the 2 Everse 8s as monitors, you could use 2 50Ms and 2 Everse 8s as monitors and do any gig with that, right? And you don't need a mixer at all, and the app is stable. And again, Jim, this will all come into what I think about the JBL in a second, but I think that's absolutely incredible to use a system like that. I'm still using a regular PA system, my QSC system. I often think about maybe using something like the tower systems instead, but I'd have to really try that gig and make sure it was going to work for me before I made such a big change to the system. So That's my little intro there. That's kind of the history. And then during that time, we had the Bose towers were updated. These are not battery powered, but the Bose towers were updated. And then with the JBL, and then millions of companies released these tower array systems, right? And then JBL released their PRX1 that I featured on the channel, and their battery powered. I can't even name now the battery powered version, the Eon, the Eon with the battery in it, which is cool, but nowhere near as powerful as the PRX1. The PRX1, it does sound very good. But to answer Jim's question, my problem with the PRX1 is the app. You see, the Bose system never had an app. The new tower systems have a very basic app, but as far as I'm aware, it works very well. The EVerse 8 has had this solid, nice app from the beginning with no bugs, no issues, no connectivity issues. It's great, and I really think that's important. This is my little rant of the live stream. It's important when you release a product to have a stable app experience, especially for live music application. Because I always use the scenario of a wedding. Say when you know if you do weddings, it's so important that the speeches are clear and don't feed back. And unfortunately, many people that speak at our gigs as a guest singer or delivering a speech, sadly, they often don't have mic technique, and then no fault of their own, they're not used to using a microphone. It's very important when you use a microphone to not walk in front of a speaker and to hold it as close to your mouth as physically possible, right? So to the extent where you're touching your mouth. That's very important. And you may not do that if you're borrowing a mic, but at least keep it an inch away, right? So then you get the problem with feedback. And imagine if you need to turn it down because there's feedback, or turn it up because the people can't hear it and the app doesn't connect. So long story short, with the JBL PRX1 is a fantastic sounding speaker, but the app is just not there. And it's been so long since they released it. And then a few months ago, or weeks ago, they released a major update to the app. And I thought, great, now I can revisit the speaker and really suggest it to the viewers here to purchase one. And it was even worse than before. It was losing connection. It wouldn't reconnect. I found more bugs in it, new bugs, completely unacceptable. And this is just my opinion. This is just my opinion. And if you own one, I don't want you to think that I'm really slamming this. What I think is going to happen is I think over the months and the next year, it'll get to where it needs to be. But I never, as a person that makes YouTube videos and talks about gear, and I'm very aware that people might buy gear that I'm talking about, I don't want to recommend something where the app or the features of the gear is not where it needs to be. And okay, some gear has issues, and that's completely unrelated, but when there's an app made by a company like JBL, and it's not reliable for me, I can't recommend the product. So I have used the PRX1, but I've always plugged another mixer into it. I've never used the built-in app because it's just not there for me. I think it's pretty poor as an app, and I've got to say that. I want to make it clear. I'm probably overstating my thoughts here, but I want to make it clear to people watching this channel who are looking to purchase things that that's where it is at the moment. I actually think they've taken a step backwards with the app. They need to get it where it needs to be. And when they do that, I do think it'll be a great system. But I'm not willing to sit here and not give my thoughts on it. So that's why I wanted to hold off there, Jim, to give you to finish what I was saying, and just to put that on there. I do think it's important to tell you my experiences. Now, I've seen some videos lately where people said they've had no problems with it, but I don't understand why that is. Maybe the app on an Android phone or something is, or the iPad is better. I don't know. But on my phone, it was really pretty bad. I actually ended up not using the video because the video came out so awkward, and so it kept crashing. So I couldn't use the video. So anyway, the EV app seems incredibly rock solid and stable. And I think the Bose app is stable, but there's not many features to it, so I guess that's kind of understandable. But these things do factor into the decisions as well. Of course, sound is the most important thing. I think all the big tower speakers sound good from what I've heard. I haven't tried them all, but people say that the EV50 sounds great, the PRX1 sounds great, and the big Bose system sounds great. But for me, the app is so important. And there's no excuse to not have I mean, look, an app will crash occasionally. There'll be the occasional bug, but it shouldn't take 2 years to get an app where it needs to be. I think that's pretty awful. Okay, so Lee's here. How you doing, buddy? New Orleans is beautiful. Great place. Great food there. I've been there once. Rosanna, good evening, Aaron, everyone. How you doing? Hope you have a lovely weekend. Yeah, I had a busy weekend, which is always a pleasure for me as a musician. So Jim, feel free to ask any questions, and also feel free to tell me if you don't agree with me. Feel free to tell me if your PRX1 is functioning just how you expect it to, and let me know if you agree or not. I don't mind. I hope that you don't agree with me, to be honest. But I just have to be honest when I talk about stuff. So let me know what you think. Zane says, very useful for musicians and DJ people and much better than the S2. Connecting options, app controlled, and can be adjusted using the buttons, treble, bass, and reverb, and can name it. Zane, what are you talking about there? The S2. S2. I'm not sure. Very useful for musicians, yeah, better than S2. Connecting options, app control, be adjusting the buttons. Are you talking about the new Bose S1 Plus? Let me know. Hi, Mario. How you doing? Good to see you, buddy. Okay, Jim. So JBL seems to have one issue after the next for the PRX1. I have an old Eon 1 Pro stick, and it's been solid. Not enough, not enough volume. So yeah, I completely agree. And that's the thing. I talked about the JBL Compact just now that came out as a mini PA solution that was really popular at the time. The app for that is actually really good. The app for the Compact is great. It's solid. It's solid as a rock. It's fine. And then the new app, which they're putting all their products into, is not very good in my opinion. And apparently the Compact is also going to go into that app. Well, I don't want it to. I don't want it to be in the app until the app is ready. So I've got to give it to EV. Their app is rock solid. I've never had one crash. I've never had one bug. It's awesome. So EV win on that for me. I haven't tried their big systems. The PRX1 does sound excellent when you run another board. When it's set up correctly, when it's running right, it sounds great. But this app stuff, it needs to be at the forefront. And yes, like I said before, apps do crash. Apps do get bugs introduced. We know that. That's part of app life. But the thing is, you can't have something that's been that buggy for this long. It's completely unacceptable. Okay, so let's move on. Let's talk about this S1 wireless and why I think it's good, if you haven't seen my video already. So the wireless guitar and mic plug is for the new S1 Pro Plus. That's right. Yeah, that's right. So this is the old S1 Pro. The rumors are saying the new one will be slightly louder, slightly lighter, which is really exciting. And they're going to do away with all these physical buttons. So you can see here, this is just to be clear, this is the original S1 Pro, been out for a long time, but incredibly successful for Bose, incredibly successful in the whole industry. So the new design will, and tell me what you think of this. I think they've done a good job. The new design will maintain the two inputs here. It will remove the reverb, bass, and treble controls. And to use those now, you'll just have a single LCD display, and that will move into the app. I like the app. I don't want to turn around on stage and bend down and make adjustments. I think I look awful when I do that. I'm so tall and awkward, I want to just reach up to the phone, use a dial, and get on with what I'm doing. And by the way, that's something that the L1 big systems, they do have that as well, but they don't have like an 8-channel mixer like the PRX1 and the EV have. You have to use their proprietary mixer, the tone match mixer, and that's not app controlled. I wish it was. So there's one knock against Bose there with the bigger systems. The towers don't have many inputs like the others do. But let's focus on this one today. This is the S1 Pro, the mini version we're talking about. So they're getting rid of these physical controls. Now, some people liked the physical controls. Some people don't want to use an app, so they're not going to be happy with the change. I am happy with the change. I want to use the app. Another thing with this system is there's no master volume. So once you've set up your levels between the guitar and the voice, there's no master volume on here. I don't know if there will be in the new app or not. There is on the other speakers. I don't really see it as a problem because you just turn up the guitar and the voice equal amounts, right? But that could be one potential thing. And then the space they gain from that is going to have a new connector where you plug in these additional you have to buy them additionally, these dongles. So you get one for a 1/4 inch for your guitar or an XLR for your microphone. And when you put them in the speaker, like the Line 6 Helix does, the Helix, not the Helix, the Line 6 Podgo with the battery-powered transmitter, it will sync it and charge it. And because there's a battery in the system, as you drive to the gig or travel on the train, you could leave the speaker turned on and it will be charging those while you're going to the gig. When you get to the gig, in theory, they're ready to go and you've still got plenty of battery life left. One problem I've had with wireless systems in the past is that I've had to make sure I charge them both the night before, and sometimes I forget to do that. So I'll come back to the chat in a second. So I'll finish my train of thought here. Another nice change they've made, this line out was always this 1/4 inch. It's going to be an XLR, like the eVerse 8. Very good. The service port here is a micro USB. It's now going to have a USB-C port. Very good. I think the changes they've made are fantastic. I can't wait to use it. I'm so excited. I love when a piece of gear comes out that I'm so excited about and I want to talk to you about, because I do offer sometimes to talk about gear on the channel. I'm not saying I'd have something on here I'm not interested in, but someone just asked me to review a $300 12 string. So I said to them, look, I've never had a 12 string. I'd like to talk about a 12 string, but that would have to be a sponsored video because that's not something that I'm just desperate to talk to the viewers about. This I'm desperate to talk to you about because this is something that could change the way I perform. And that's what I'm looking for on this channel. And of course, the big thing here is, will the wireless connectivity be reliable? That is the question. If it's not, then this is a total, again, a total write-off for me. I won't be talking about it ever again. If the wireless connectivity works well, I'll be talking about it all the time. Now, look, it still won't be, it won't have the 8-inch speaker. It'll have a 6-inch. It still won't be as good for some people as the eVerse 8 and the JBL Compact. But on the flip side of that, it will be the lightest system on the market, the smallest system on the market. I absolutely love the bag that the S1 Pro has. I love that bag so much, and so do the cats. Unfortunately, they tend to tear it apart. But if you can keep those cats away, that's a great bag where the cables are stored in the top compartment. I love it so much, and it's also a backpack. So I'm just so excited. The new one of these with the wireless dongles and the backpack. Okay, it's going to be $1,200, and I know a lot of people right now have already lost interest at that price. But if it works reliably, if it sounds great, then something like this could pay for itself within a few months if you're gigging full time. Because taking a cab these days, I'm not complaining about I don't want to complain about prices. That's not what I'm here to do. But it's the facts are right now, to take a cab even into the city for me is like $30 to $50. So if something like this means you can take a train and you can take this with just a microphone, your guitar on your back and a mic stand, and do a performance and get paid, then that's definitely worth it. And talking about cables, I played this weekend. I told you how I did it. I ran the EV into a regular set of speakers. There were cables everywhere. I played a party and people wanted to get on the microphone, which was fine. I took the spare mic, but there was so much risk of cables, people tripping. I do have liability insurance, and I have links to that. If you're interested, I can put it in the chat. I think having liability insurance is incredibly important. But if you don't have the cables on the ground, then you're not going to trip over them in the first place. And a few weeks ago, I was playing an event where the photographer asked me to unplug all my cables. They didn't want the messy cables in the shot. So I wouldn't have had to have done that if I had the wireless. So I do get that. For a clean stage, this new Bose is going to be fantastic, right? But I'll say it one more time. It has to work well. If it cuts out at all or has bad sound quality, then it's a total no-no, because I just told you it's $1,300 with all the accessories. There's no way anyone's going to spend $1,300 on something unless it's absolutely rock solid. And this, again, is my message. Please don't release products that are not ready to go out the door. It's completely unacceptable. All right? So I will give that to EV. The eVerse 8 came out rock solid. It's been rock solid. It's paid for itself many times over already for me. I absolutely love it. But I am very interested in the Bose because of the direction they've decided to take. and I really hope they get it right. They should be out in a few weeks. I already pre-ordered one. It's not going to be a sponsored video. It's going to be an honest video, and there's no way I'm going to keep it if it doesn't work really, really, really well. Obviously, because that's a lot of money to have in something you don't use. So, all right, come back over here to the chat. And by the way, that's why the S1 Pro is currently $100 off, obviously, because there's a new version coming out. So, the PRX1 seems to be a science project. I wish I'd waited before I bought it. No, I don't agree with that. I think it's not a science project. It's a great sounding PA system with an app that has too many bugs in the app. I don't like the way the app looks. I think it looks dated, but that doesn't really matter. But it's not reliable. And look, I could go out tonight and do a gig with it. I could, if I just don't trust it, and I don't like how unpolished it is. It's more of a statement as to why are you not polishing that faster? Why is it not where it needs to be? I could totally go out and use it tonight. And in some ways, it could be better than other systems because it has the inputs and it has the app and it has the mixer built in. I just said the Bose towers don't have that at all. So you'd have to bring an external mixer. So in that respect, the PRX1 is cheaper than the Bose. And if you don't use the built-in mixer and app and just use it like you use the L1, the Bose L1, then it's the same thing and it's cheaper. So, if you want to get into it like that, I wouldn't say it's not a bad product. It's just they're not fully utilizing the power of it because it does have a mixer, it does have an app, and it does work. You can use it, so it's not like it's broken, but it's just not where it could be. And if it was if they've got it to where it could be, it'd be a different story. It would be like, this is amazing. It's got all these controls and features and inputs. You don't need a mixer. And it's just sad, I think. It's a shame. And I get frustrated because I don't know. I know they're working on an update right now. They are working on an update right now because I've seen some of the, beta stuff. Yeah, probably shouldn't have said that, but I've seen some things out there. They are working on it now. There will be an update soon, and I've also heard that the updates this year will be big. So again, I don't think it's a matter of them not getting it where it needs to be. Why is it taking so long when the EV one just worked out of the door? And on the flip side of that, I keep going back and forth, but the EV app doesn't have a parametric EQ, and then the JBL does. So some will say, yes, okay, the EV app is better than the JBL app, but since it doesn't have a parametric EQ, it's completely useless to me anyway. Whereas the JBL app isn't that responsive, but it has a fully parametric EQ, and that's a great thing. So as with all these products, none of these products are clearly above the other. That's the crazy thing with gear, and what makes it so complicated to decide what you want, and you have to then stick to what you decide. Let's take these battery-powered things to start with. The original Bose S1 Pro has physical controls and is the smallest. The JBL is bigger, but it has an app, and it has 3 inputs. That's the only one that has 3 inputs. All the others have 2. The EVerse8 has a dedicated power output. It won't power all the wireless systems, unfortunately. It won't power my Shure system, but it will power their wireless systems. So you can have the wireless system on top of it, a proper professional wireless system on top. So they all have slightly different features. So there isn't one that's clearly better than the others. So the reason that I'm using the EVerse8 right now is because it's almost the lightest, and it's got the bigger speaker, and it's got the reliable app. So that's why I've chosen to use that one. But the JBL has the 3 inputs. I would like to have that, but I don't want to use their app. So, it's crazy how the gear is so slightly different. It's almost like these companies get together and release all these products together and say, right, you put that on yours and we'll put this on ours and we'll put that. I never see products where one is just clearly the same as the other, but better. There's always slightly different features that are better on one and not the other. And that's why a lot of people you see online, they end up with a Fractal and a Helix and a Boss and a Kemper and all these things because they've all got one feature that the others don't, right? It's crazy. I mean, you'll say it's obviously to differentiate themselves, but with speakers, you think someone will just make a speaker and say, right, let's give it 3 inputs, let's make it the lightest, let's do this, let's do that. But they don't always. There's always one thing missing that something else has. Kind of crazy. But the cool thing with the new Bose S1 Plus is that they have added a new feature, something cool, something innovative, potentially innovative, which I like. Graham says, I'm thinking of getting a Laney Duo acoustic amp for smaller gigs to save me carding my column PA and desk every time. Have you tried one? I haven't. Laney stuff is pretty good. I'm not really a big fan of acoustic amps. They tend to be low power. They tend to be voiced for acoustic. And if you only play acoustic, that's okay. But I can see from your picture you sing as well. So I think you should check out the Everse 8 or wait and check out this new Bose Plus, which I'll be reviewing in a couple of weeks. Jim says, I'm sorry, but I do agree with you. I've had it sitting here collecting dust because I can't have an issue at a gig. Thanks for your straightforward opinion. Yeah, well, I was scared you might say that. Like I said, I haven't been using mine much either. But I was just saying on the phone today that the gig I did yesterday, that would have been the perfect solution for yesterday's gig in hindsight, because it has the sub, and I didn't have a sub yesterday. So it has the sub, and it has the wireless connectivity, it has the volume, it has the throw. Actually, that would have been a better choice for me yesterday. And I really think I could have made it work with the app. It just is a bit more stressful than the EV. So yeah, I want to make it clear. I'm not completely slamming that. I'm really slamming the fact that the app isn't where I believe it should be polish wise. It just, the LR Bags voice print DI app looks amazing and is so responsive and no bugs. Sometimes it doesn't connect, but you have to just reset it. But it's so slick, and the PRX app is so functional. Yeah, PRX1 app is so functional, but it's not slick and it looks dated, and there's some weird bugs in there, and sometimes it doesn't work. It doesn't reconnect. That's the worst thing with that. They made it worse recently because when you minimize the app and then open it again, it's not connected. That's really bad. That should not happen. So, we'll keep an eye on it. If they do, I've still got it. If they release a big update to the app and they do fix these problems, of course, I'll make a video announcing that. But to this point, I'm just disappointed with the approach and the amount of care the product has received. Still think it sounds great. Still think it's perfectly usable. I'm not telling everyone to go out and sell theirs at all. And it does have its place in the market, but it just makes me sad that they're not doing things faster with the updates. Zane says XLR and line-in inputs with onboard tone match presets, EQ and reverb. The microphone can be plugged, and instrument and price is affordable. So that's the other thing I thought about, by the way, with the Bose S1 Pro Plus. If you get the XLR wireless adapter, what you could do, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if you have a PA system with an XLR out, you could plug the wireless adapter into that, and that will then send the sound out of that into the speaker, and then the speaker's receiving audio from the other device. When I say speaker, I mean the S1 Pro Plus is receiving audio from the other device via that wireless connection. The speaker is battery powered. You can then place that anywhere around the venue. Of course, it won't be time aligned. That's one problem with doing that. But just having it at the back of the room shouldn't really matter in that regards. That could be a really nice feature. So if you have a Bose tower system, take the XLR out of it, run that with the dongle that you buy for the S1 Pro Plus, put that into there, and then basically use it as a completely wireless satellite speaker. I love that idea. There's a lot of cool potential with this new product if it works well. I'm very cynical lately. I'm not willing to get too excited about gear because I'm let down so much with gear these days that I'm just not going to get too carried away before I've tried the thing. You look small. Hey Eddie. Yeah, I said I'm small today because I've had I got a cut on my nose from the dermatologist, so I don't feel like being full screen today. Maybe next week. Noise Buffet, how you doing? I focus on venues with their own PA and keep my rig light. You see, there's the thing. There's the thing, Noise Buffet. When where I live, I find that most venues, if not all venues, don't have a PA system. So you have to have a PA system. Now, I don't think I need to have a massive PA system. I just need something like an Everse 8 or an EV30M or something, or the QSC speakers. You need some kind of reinforcement. And then sometimes if you're taking the subway, you also need to be light as well because you're traveling on a subway. I do know a lot of people that do play venues that provide their own sound system and sound engineer, and that's a wonderful thing. That's a much better thing. You're going to have a real PA system, when I say real, I mean a fully fleshed out PA system with subs and monitors and massive speakers and a professional grade mixer and compressors and all this stuff. Of course, that's the best solution, but not really not possible. For what I do, I consider the fact that I need a PA system, and that's really what people are paying for. Sometimes I feel like they're basically paying me for the PA system hire as much as my performance. So T says, for someone who doesn't sing, would an acoustic amp be a better choice? I would say yes, with the caveat of if you ever do work with a singer, maybe not. Because if you ever find yourself having to plug a singer into the amp or having a guest speaker or playing tracks for a DJ type set, then I would still say you're better off going with like an Everse 8. In my experience of using acoustic amps, I actually think the Everse 8 sounds as good as most acoustic amps anyway. So I'm still gonna say I would get the Everse 8 if I was you. Unless you play an acoustic amp and you particularly love that amp. So, if you love the feel and the sound of that amp, then great. But if you're on the fence, I'd probably lean more towards the Everse 8 or the new Bose system that's coming out soon. Oh, Zane was talking about the S1 Pro and line arrays. Yes. Yeah, I gotta admit, I love the idea of line arrays. The problem with the conventional PA is you get a lot of volume from the speakers and it doesn't travel very well. It doesn't, it drops off so quickly, the sound. I mean, it doesn't completely drop off because it does travel around the neighborhood, but it's not exactly clear. I'd rather have lower volume where everything's spread out more with a clear sound, I think. Rafa's here. Hayden, buddy, been a long time. I was looking forward to your input on this. Yep, I've got one on order. I made a little preview video the other day just announcing that it's coming because I noticed that no one's spoken about it yet. I'm talking about it a bit today. I will. What you need to do is wait for me to actually have one and tell you how it is. Could be a great solution for you as well. Very handy and easy to carry around and last 11 hours of playing. Yes, indeed. You see, that's the other thing. We don't have any facts and info on the new Bose. The problem is they might say it has 11-hour battery life, but once you start using the wireless connectors, that's going to eat into that battery life. And also, you got to be very careful with specs. With these PA systems, you got to be very careful with specs, I've learned. Because, for example, I'll give you some examples. I don't know this for a fact yet, but let's say they say you get 10-hour battery life. Right. That's 10 hours where it's at 50% volume with nothing plugged into it. That could literally mean if you turn it on and don't touch it and it's at 50% volume, well, it wouldn't matter. There's no sound coming through it. That could literally mean you turn it on and you walk away and it's got 10-hour battery life. Right, but what happens when you start playing through it at 50% volume? And then also, if you turn it up to 100% volume, you're going to get less battery life because you're pushing it harder. It's getting hotter. You're running it louder. So most of the time, they're going to mean if you run a speaker at 50% volume and play just the guitar through it, you get 10 hours. But actually, if you're running it at 80% volume, and you're using their new wireless system that you can add to it, that's going to dramatically decrease the battery life, right? It's going to make it more like 7 hours. And the same goes with decibels. Some people say this unit will get up to 120 decibels. But what they actually mean is that they're measuring it a foot away, whereas someone else might say our system gets up to 100 decibels, but they're measuring it 5 feet away. So that's going to make a huge difference to the numbers that you get. So be very wary of specs. They say the Everse 8 is 450 watts and the S1 Pro is like 150. But I don't get that sense. I don't get the sense that the Everse 8 is that much more powerful than the other systems. I don't. I find them all a much of a muchness. I would say for me, I found the S1 Pro and the JBL Compact comparable. Maybe the S1 Pro slightly louder, just from the feel I get from it. Maybe because of the smaller speaker, gives it more punch. And then I do feel the EVerse 8 is slightly louder than those two systems, but I'm talking slightly louder. You still feel when it hits the threshold of its headroom. So I don't think that's, I mean, it might be. 450 versus 150 isn't necessarily the volume difference you expect when you read those numbers. It takes a lot of wattage to give you more clean headroom. But the other thing you could do, since the Bose, I mean, it's a lot of money, but since the Bose S1 Pro Plus will be so small, you could buy two and have a stereo PA system. And then you could buy the wireless dongle, again, to send the output from that XLR output of the S1 Pro Plus. You could send that into the input of the other S1 Pro Plus and wirelessly have a completely stereo wireless PA system. That would be really awesome. But again, that's going to be a lot of money. But if you care about convenience and quality, maybe it's worth it. Graham says, King Tut's in Glasgow was a brilliant place to play. Proper stage, great sound guy, and great PA. Unfortunately, those gigs playing original material are rare and don't pay as well. Well, that's exactly it. So I can think of places in New York. So you've got Rockwood Music Hall, excellent venue, excellent PA, excellent acoustics, excellent stage, but they don't tend to pay like if you're doing a wedding. You might get the cut of the door, and if you're a popular original act, you might do really well. But I think for me, the whole thing about doing private parties and weddings is that you're providing the equipment. I really think that's a factor. And I have hired a PA system in the past. I remember when I lived in London, I played a gig in Wimbledon at the tennis club, and I hired a PA because I only had a very basic speaker at the time. This was years ago. And I think that was like £350. That was a lot of money back then, and I'm sure it's even more money now. But it was great, don't get me wrong. They brought the equipment, they set it up, they gave me a sound check, they went home, they came back next morning, they picked it up. That's great, but that £350, and again, this was many, many, many years ago, would have been in the budget for me if I took my own system. That would have been my money that I kept. And I really believe that's what a lot of people are paying for. Like I said earlier, when someone calls up and hires you for a wedding, they're really paying for your time and the equipment hire more than your performance. I read a quote the other day where someone said, the performance, this is great, the performance is free. You're paying me to get there and to bring all my stuff. I love that quote so much. I don't totally agree with it. I don't believe the performance is free. Of course, when you perform a song, what you're paying for there is the time, someone's training and hours of learning and preparation, and the study they've done to find the guitar and learn how to restring the guitar, learn how to play the guitar, learn how to sing the song, choose the song to sing. You're paying for all that experience and knowledge to a performer. But I love the quote because, yes, to most performers, what they're really being paid for is to get up, get out of bed early, get the equipment ready, pack it all into the car, drive 2 hours to the gig, take it out of the car, set it up, secure the cables, make sure that nothing will get damaged that night, and then start performing, and then deal with people coming up the stage and keeping them away from the staff and protecting their investment. That's what you're really paying for when you hire a wedding band. I get that. And often if you do a wedding band gig, you spend all the day traveling to the gig, getting changed, setting up the PA system, and then you might play for an hour sometimes. They might start the wedding late and you play for an hour, take a break, play another hour, and you're done. And you think, well, I spent the whole day to do this gig. I only played for 2 hours and it was easy. And the funny thing then is that, yeah, it was easy, but it wasn't easy waking up at 7 a.m., packing the car with all the PA system, driving to the gig, liaising with the people at the venue, setting up all the equipment, an hour to pack away all the cables and equipment correctly, drive home again, stop somewhere on the way, buy some food. You basically lost a day of your life to do that, right? So I love that quote. You're not paying me for my performance. You're not paying me to sing. You're paying me to bring all my stuff to your place. I really love that. So That is why I think it's important to have gear that is portable. I know with my current full PA system with the QSCs, it does take me an hour to pack it all away correctly. 1 hour. And there's cables everywhere. It looks messy. So I really think these new systems are exciting. Imagine a small battery powered amp with full wireless integration. There's no wires anywhere, and it sounds great, and it works reliably, and it looks clean, and you're in and you're out of the gig, and you're done. Great. And then maybe they could port that across to the bigger systems. Imagine a Bose L1 tower, which also has those wireless capabilities. And I'd also love them to take a leaf out of EV's book and let us connect two together with one cable, where it then puts the mixers together and gives us at least a 4-channel mixer, if not more, preferably 8. And then if you do plug in the Bose mixer to it that you can buy separately, then that'd be great if that could also be part of the app control as well. So this is all exciting for the future. I do think we're looking to a fully wireless world with gear, but it just hasn't been there for me yet. It hasn't been reliable. It hasn't had the best sound that a cable has. And also, some of the wireless systems work really well, but they're not user repairable, and that sucks. Those I always talk about the XSW Sennheiser systems. They're fantastic. They're reliable. They sound great. They're absolutely amazing. But I've had two now where the battery died after a year, and I had to pay to have them fixed because they won't let you replace the rechargeable battery yourself, or at least they make it very difficult to. Lee says, I remember a few years ago, a friend of mine hired gear only to find the reverb didn't work when he got to the gig and nothing he could do about it. Yeah, that's the problem. That's the other thing. If you hire gear, you don't know the condition of it. If you hire gear, it tends to be beaten up. It tends to be microphones that 1 million people have used. So that's why I believe in owning your own gear, because you know the state of it. You know you've looked after it. You know if there's a problem with one of the buttons. You know who's sung through your microphone or preferably hasn't sung through your microphone. I don't really like the idea of using other people's gear anyway. To further my argument, I keep using real world scenarios. I think it's really important. I played like a family event a few weeks ago, and the first person up there, well, let me give you the full story. It's interesting. I get to the venue, and there's amazing QSC speakers hung around this bar, right? Amazing, like QSC K12s or something, hung all around the room with like a Mackie mixer. And I'm thinking, wow, that's a great sound system right there. So the first person gets up to talk, and they're talking through this like keyboard amp, and it's really muffled and sounds awful. And it's just coming through this one old amp on stage, plugged like a cheap mic plugged in with a jack cable, not even an XLR cable, into an instrument input of an old beat up amp. And I'm just thinking to myself, why would you do that when there's the actual sound system here that you could be using? So when I got up to perform, I used my own speaker. I had the Everse 8 with me. I put it on the floor and I used that, and that sounded much better. It still didn't sound as good as going into the house system though. And I did have a word with them and said maybe in the future we could use the house system because it looks like a great system. But obviously if you're going to do that, you really want to try it out. Just because it's new and everything and looks nice doesn't mean there's not issues with it. So if you're going to use the house system, you really want to do a sound check. It's great. Another reason it's great to have your own amp with you at all times is you can just throw it down and play because you know how that thing works. You know how it will sound and how it will react in the room. So I'm a firm believer in carrying something like one of these battery-powered amps with you at all times. And then you either run it into the house system and use it as a monitor, or you use it as a standalone device. And then if the house system really is that great, you can always use that. But like I said, just because the house system looks amazing doesn't mean it will be. So I thought that was a related topic there of real world stuff, because that's exactly what happened. And again, the Everse 8 worked great. But again, the house system probably would have sounded better. But yeah, it's nice to have the options. Exactly. If you hire something, always test it. I hired a guitar once. When I recorded my album, I hired a nylon string guitar for one of the songs on the album. And I remember it cost me a lot of money, and it was from a very reputable company at the time. and it showed up on the day. They deliver it, so they delivered it on the day, and one of the strings was broken on the nylon string guitar, and there was no spare strings in it. So I called them up. I said, look, I just hired the studio, and I got here, and the guitar arrived, and there's a string broken. So they just picked it up and didn't charge me. But they potentially ruined. So we ended up recording the song with steel string guitar, and it came out great. That's fine. But that potentially could have ruined a recording session. If I had my own nylon string guitar, I could have used that instead, and I would have known if there was a problem with it, and if there was a broken string, I would have had spare strings. So that's what Lee is saying. You need to be careful when you hire stuff. How you doing? Although I can visualize how you must travel by subway with a guitar and a small amp, carrying accessories, stand, stool must be difficult. Use a cart. So that's a great point. I never spoke about this. I don't like carts. I like those rock and roller carts. I like when I'm taking all the PA system. What you do is you put everything on the rock and roller cart, and you put some ties. Make sure you use the elastic ropes around it, because I've had stuff fall off and break before, or get damaged at least. Put the ropes around it, and you just wheel that whole thing out to the venue or the car, unload it, collapse the cart, put it in the car, and go. Those are fantastic when you have a lot of gear and you're using a car. But when I travel on the subway and the bus, I don't like that, because I've got to drag it along a bumpy road, a bumpy sidewalk path. I've got to take it up and down subway steps. I find them to be a bit of a hassle myself. So what I do, and it took me a while to figure this out, and I think it's a really great solution. First of all, I use a soft gig bag. I don't use a hard shell case for the acoustic, and that's because I can then wear it on my back. And in there I have the guitar strap, and I always have a spare cable, a spare tuner, spare strings in there, like my sort of backup stuff in there. So I wear that on my back. That's the acoustic guitar taken care of. Then I have a light mic stand. I don't like light mic stands. I like heavy mic stands, because they tend not to hit you in the face when someone kicks into it. But I can't carry that on me in with public transport. So what I do is I found some sort of medium weight mic stands. I'd say light to medium. I think the ones I use are PV, and they come as a kit, but only for like $50. So I don't use the rest of the stuff in the kit. I gave that away. I used just the mic stand. I put it into a mic bag and added a shoulder strap, so I can then wear that lightweight mic stand over my shoulder. So I've now got the acoustic guitar in a bag with some backup stuff and a few accessories I need, and my strap. I've got the mic stand over my shoulder as well. Then, in my hand, I carry my mono backpack, which has my Voice Live 3 and all my cables in it. And then in the other hand, I could carry a speaker. So I can do that. I can take that on the subway. It's not fun, because the problem is my bag with all those pedals weighs 22 pounds, and then the speaker is going to weigh about 15 pounds. So it's not light. It's still kind of, I don't like it. Even the bag by itself without the speaker sometimes is kind of annoying. I keep swapping hands with it. But my point is, I can take all that stuff to a gig and perform and get through it. So yes, okay, I could use a cart, a small cart for the bag and the amp. That might be a good idea, so I can wheel it along. But at this point, I just like to carry everything and not deal with what I do with the cart and pulling the cart around. So that's up to you. I kind of wish my bag was slightly lighter. If this new Bose speaker that's coming out really is 14 pounds, and if I could get my bag down to 14 pounds, I mean, 14 pounds in each hand, and then the stuff on my back would be absolutely fine. It's, for me, once you get over 20 pounds, it's kind of annoying. But that's partly because I take some backup cables, some extension cables, and I use the Voice Live 3. It weighs a bit more than the Play Acoustic. I could make the rig smaller, but I don't really want to. So that's how I do it, and it works for me. And then occasionally, I'll slug up to the venue or that stuff, and then I'll take a cab home. Just if it's late at night and I made good tips, I'll take a cab home, and it works really well. And if you really need to travel light, you don't have to take the Voice Live 3 and all those other things. The fact of the matter is, like, I could just have the guitar on my back, the mic stand on, and take that bag with the new Bose system that's coming out, and use the wireless adapters, and that could be it. That would be really light. Then you can take a subway with no carts. It's only if you want to take a big bag of cables with you that it becomes a problem, because it turns out cables can weigh a lot when you put them all together. T says the Everse 8 is cheaper than the AR64 and the Udo Rosner, but double the price of the Joyo BSK60. But I'm going to say the Everse 8 is going to be louder than the Joyo. And yeah, so you want my opinion? The fact that it's cheaper and so much more versatile, I would definitely get the Everse 8. I wouldn't even hesitate. That's my opinion. I haven't tried the Udo Rosner amp. I've owned several AERs. They're very good, but they were never loud enough for me anyway. And the vocals always sounded harsh to them when I sang through them. I just think they're limited. There's no app control. There's no Bluetooth streaming. Yeah, just I wouldn't even think I would get that Everse 8. I would wait for the new Bose to come out and see how that is. And then if there's any problems with that, I would just get the Everse 8 and be done with it. That's just such a great solution. We've moved on so much now. I think I said in the previous video, the acoustic amps were really around at a time when acoustic pickups were pretty bad. So they really came out when we just had undersaddle pickups, and they did the job. Like the Fishman amps really make the undersaddle pickup sound really good. So I think that's what they were trying to do. Now we have full range portable PA systems with integrated apps and all this new technology. I really think that they've kind of replaced acoustic amps. Acoustic amps still have their place if that's exactly what you want. But then it's a bit like, the modelers versus the tube amps. We all love the tube amps over the modelers for that one thing they do really well. But the modelers have the app control and the wireless and 100 different settings and all the mod cons. That's what these new amps have. These new battery amps have. At the end of the day, they're battery powered, which is cool. They have the app control usually, which is cool. You can make changes. You can walk around the room and listen to the sound. That stuff for me is so invaluable. It really is. And even having the Bluetooth streaming, firmware updates, I think it's great. I would never go back to an acoustic amp after using something like the Everse. Never. I just wouldn't do it. I'd be missing too many cool things. Yesterday I was going to use a cable to connect my phone to the PA system for my DJ set, and I didn't. I just streamed it into the Everse 8 wirelessly. It didn't go wrong once, and I plugged the output of that into the QSC. Went out of that into the other QSC. I completely eliminated the need for a cable to, I basically gave myself a wireless streaming solution for music and used that as an integrated mixer and a third speaker. And it sounded really good, even by itself. So I just wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. I understand why Tommy Emmanuel uses an acoustic amp. He wants that feel. He wants that sound on stage. He has a sound engineer. He has a full venue PA system. He's not looking to have something flexible and Bluetooth streaming and all that stuff. But for me, for what I do, the Everse 8 is amazing. And it also has, I didn't mention this, it also has the USB port. You can charge your phone from it. Someone said to me the other day they're not sure about these new speakers because their phone dies and they can't use the app control. Well, as long as you carry a long USB charging cable in your guitar case, you can actually charge your phone. I did it. This is not a lie either. Another real world example. I played a few months ago and I thought my phone was charging and it wasn't. When I got to my gig, it was a late night gig. And when I got there, the phone was about to die. So I just took a long cable with me. I plugged the phone into the Everse 8. And then as I was playing, the phone was recharging. I finished the gig. The phone was over 50%. And I went home and I got home safely. You can't do that with the acoustic amps. So many features there. And I also think they, in some instances, they sound better as well. I really do. So I just... Yeah, I know. There's what have I reviewed? I reviewed the Elite Acoustics. That's a great sounding acoustic amp. I would say that sounds better than the Everse 8, but it's also bigger and heavier and doesn't have app control, and it's more expensive. So yeah, Everse 8 for me so far is just ticking all the boxes. Have to stress it won't do a loud venue. It's not going to replace your whole PA system. Maybe if you bought two of them, it might do, but don't get me wrong. It's not. I'm not saying Everse 8 means you can sell everything else you own, but for that portable battery-powered solution and a great sort of thing to have in your toolkit, it's definitely. I mean, it's been great for me. The proof is in the pudding. I've been using it successfully. been paying the bills with it for a few months now, and I love it. But I am interested in the Bose because it potentially could be even cooler, and it also could be a massive flop. So stay tuned to this space. The eVerse 8 is cheap. Oh, we did that one. Thank you. Zane says, the young generation will have much better technology in the future. That's why it's very important to support and encourage them. I agree. And the technology is just getting better and better. Did you see that they just released Logic Pro and Final Cut Pro for the iPad? That's incredible. So with an iPad Pro now, you can make a whole song, a whole album on an iPad now with Logic Pro. Now, it's not as good as Logic Pro on the computer. It's not got all the features, but it's got a lot of them, and you could easily make an album with that. So technology is definitely helping us. It's funny because we still like the tube amps. We still like the classic PAs and big monitors and subwoofers and things. And this new digital stuff isn't necessarily replacing that stuff. It's just giving us more options and making life easier in certain situations. I would much rather have a stack of tube amps behind me and a full PA system with 3 sound engineers than a digital modeler and a couple of these eVerse 8 speakers. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that you can now use the technology to make a living is so amazing. One of the reasons I kept the modeler I have, which is the Quad Cortex, is because it's got the ability to be a 4-channel mixer. So I thought to myself, well, I love the Kemper, but the Kemper can't run a whole band. The QSC could run a bass, a guitar, and 2 vocal microphones straight into some kind of speaker like the PRX1 or whatever, and there you go. That's your mixer. And they're making an editor for that as well. So you could use that at gig. Great. It's flexible. I think flexible is important. I think sound is important. And I also think that particular thing, the product I just spoke about, the QC, sounds excellent. For me, the product has to sound excellent and be versatile, just for what I need. If you have a tour bus and you have a road crew, of course, the versatility doesn't matter. You can use whatever you want. You can use a tube amp, but they're going to sit up for you. That's fine. Mic it up. That's fine. For me, the versatility is important, and the sound. You've got to decide what's important to you. Sound and versatility for me. So for me, the Quad Cortex sounds fantastic, and it's very versatile. The eVerse 8 sounds fantastic, and it's very versatile. So that's the kind of stuff that I'm looking for. And then the new Bose, if that sounds fantastic and is super versatile because of the wireless connectivity, then that for me will be a really great thing. It still won't replace the eVerse, but it will be a really cool alternative because of what the features that it has. But I agree with you, Zane. The technology will just keep making things more accessible and easier for people. But the only problem is with all this new AI stuff, which can be amazing. Will the technology eventually replace the musicians? That's my fear. Because now we can go out with a battery-powered speaker, an auto-tune pedal, a harmony pedal, fantastic reverbs, an iPad with the lyrics, right? It's so much easier now to be a gigging musician than it was 30 years ago when none of that stuff existed. I'm not saying it does it for you, but it certainly assists you, right? To have the lyrics with you all the time on your phone, so have these light speakers that sound great, to have these different vocal effects and things, it definitely helps. So what happens when they make a pedal where it takes your singing and makes your tone, like, gives you the tone of a different voice and pitches everything perfectly with emotion and inflection still intact? Are we going to be eventually just replaced by technology? That's my fear. Is it going to get so easy that the human element is not needed? Maybe. We'll see. That could be a long way off for children of children of children, but it could happen eventually. Graham says, as I'm getting older, I'm also thinking about my back and carting stuff in the crowded small pubs. So portable, simple is good. Bring on new tech. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. You've got to think about that, because if you are damaging your back every time you go to a gig and eventually you can't play the gig, then you're in real trouble. So it's just important to be sensible, obviously use good technique when you're bending down and picking stuff up. And if you can have lighter stuff, sometimes you can't have lighter stuff. Sometimes you got to take the heavy stuff with you. But if you can get stuff that's easier to carry, and also faster to set up. Because who wants to spend the whole gig setting stuff up and packing it away? That's your time you're losing. If at every gig it takes you 2 hours to set up, you're losing 2 hours of your life. Sometimes you have to do that. Some people use very advanced rigs. Like there's one guy I watch on YouTube who uses like a MIDI controller and all these loopers, and he needs that. It sounds excellent. So he needs to do that. But for me, every minute I can save not plugging something in. And again, not to be lazy. I don't like when people say online that I want us to set up quickly. I don't care about the sound. That's not me. I do care about the sound. I do care about all that stuff. But if I can save myself 10 minutes on each gig setting up and packing away, that will add up over my lifetime to several weeks and months, right, of time that I've saved. And also, if you're running late, which is a terrible reason to suggest, but if you're running late to a gig, you can still set up and do the gig and start on time. But I'm not saying that would be me, but that can happen. Sometimes it's not your fault, right? So yeah, so that's my spiel today. I don't think I've spoken about PAs lately. That's my thoughts on PA systems. There's so many options. There's a few thoughts of my experience using them. So at the moment, I am using my QSC rig and the Everse 8. I want to try the tower system some more. I hope JBL get their app together. That'd be a great title for my video, wouldn't it? JBL should get their app together. That's a pun. And really excited for this new Bose system. So as soon as I got the Bose, we'll go live with it on the Monday. What I'm planning to do is I'm going to get it. I'm going to test it in the living room. And then I'm going to plug my mic into it wirelessly and run that into the audio interface. So rather than use the headset I'm using now, I'm going to go through the Bose for the Monday live stream where I have it. And that way, if it cuts out while I'm live, then we'll know the wireless isn't good, because I'll be live for an hour or two when I get it, right? And I'll just talk and play through it, and we'll see if it cuts out. And if it cuts out or doesn't sound good, then it will go back. And if it doesn't cut out and it sounds good in the apartment, because there's a lot of wireless networks around here, then I'll take it to a gig and see if it works well in a venue on a Friday or something, and take it from there. Then I'll do my review. That's how I like to do things with the wireless stuff. I did one with my Rode wireless mics a while ago. I wore them. I used them on a stream. So it didn't sound as good as this, but I got to actually test them, and they didn't drop out, and they haven't dropped out since, knock on wood. So there's proof that you can get wireless stuff that is robust and reliable. It's really about how well designed it is. So I really hope that Bose have their stuff together with that. All right, I'm going to wrap things up. Thank you to Lee and Rosanna for moderating. I hope everyone has a great week. Again, think of those who lost their lives today. If you're in America, it's Memorial Day. Have a safe week. I believe next week we'll be in June already, which is crazy, right? And yeah, maybe next week we'll have I just noticed on Sweetwater, actually. Did you see it says limited time offer, 3 days left? Does that mean the new system is going to be announced in 3 days? I would presume that $100 off is until the new system. I know I could be wrong. Maybe it won't. I think it'll be out in a week or two, and once I have one, we'll use it on the Monday stream. So watch out for that. If you're new here, subscribe and ring the bell, and that will tell you if I do get it and make a video about it or make any other announcement videos like that. And also make sure you turn on notifications, because that will tell you when I do post a video or go live. So yeah, thanks for joining me again. It's been great as always. I really think the PA thing is important. I've got a few more comments here. I'll just go through before I say goodbye. I really think the PA thing is important, because that's what people are hearing us through, right? So as much as we love the guitars and everything, your mic and your PA system is really important, and how you use them and how you dial them in and how they sound to the audience is so important, right? Not being too loud, not being too quiet, having clear sound is so important, obviously. Rexamatic, how you doing? Been a while. Greetings from Boston, on the way back to Phoenix from Iceland. Nice. Got to visit with Elvis Costello, very good, and Nick Lowe. Wow. Both vinyl guys. Elvis travels with Turntable. They each now have a copy of my most recent record. Fantastic. Well, I'm jealous. I'm jealous. I love Elvis Costello and Nick Lowe. Some of my influences right there. That's fantastic. I'm very happy for you, and I hope you had a good time. And do they play Rain songs? Is my question. Jim says, thanks, Aaron. Peace, people. Cool, Jim. And yeah, we'll reconnect on this topic when they do release that update to the app, the JBL app. I believe it's in the works, and I'm sure it will drop any week or month. If things change, we'll revisit that on the stream and in the video for sure. Just trying to give you all the information and all my thoughts on this stuff. For what it's worth, right? This could be. We all have to try stuff for ourselves. I read so much stuff in forums lately where everyone has different idea, and it kind of amazes me because that obviously the where we play, how we play, what we play affects all these things. I might get the Bose and have no problem with the Wi-Fi. Someone else might get one in England and have a problem with the Wi-Fi. We don't know. So this is only my thoughts and opinions, but I'm glad we can meet here each week and share them together because I love hearing what you think about this stuff as well. I'm learning a lot. So I'll look forward to seeing you all. I got a very busy weekend this weekend, which I'm pleased about, and I will be here next Monday, and we'll continue this conversation, and hopefully we'll have more info on the Bose S1 Pro Plus. So I look forward to seeing you then. Have a great week and take care and be well. And Lee, I'll see you next time. See you all next time. Peace.